always struggle trying to find the right shoes for your costumes and end up being left with loads of different shoes for your costumes but not knowing where to put them? Well, look no further, because in this video I'll cover the different methods you can use to make cosplay shoes cheap, how these methods can save you space and time, and how you can make your own shoe patterns. So let's get right into it. So what are the different methods of how you can make your own shoes? The first one I'll be covering is you can adapt old shoes that you barely use anymore, or you can go to the charity shop and find some for cheap. This way is very beginner friendly. You'll be able to just glue the fabric onto the shoe and try and build up that shape from there. It's also quite cost effective because all you'd be paying for really is the fabric and possibly a cheap pair of shoes from the charity shop. The next method I want to cover is making boot covers. This method is still fairly beginner friendly, although it does require a tiny bit of sewing. This method is also really good for saving storage space because all you'll need to do is take it off of the shoe and fold and put the boot covers away once you're done with them. And then you can just reuse your shoes for whatever other costumes you might have. So both of these methods are really quick to do in comparison to making just a shoe from scratch. So depending on your time frame and how much money you want to invest into your costume, I'd always recommend making your shoes like this. So now moving on to how do you make a shoe pattern? And it's quite simple really. All you'll need is some masking tape, a Sharpie, and some cling film. So this is all you'll need to make your shoe patterns. So whatever shoe it is that you want to take the pattern from, you want to first cling film up that shoe, and then you're going to apply some masking tape above all of that cling film in the areas where you're wanting fabric to sit. Then all you need to do is draw on your pattern. This method of making a pattern works really well for boot covers because you can get it quite accurate to the shape. But it's also handy for if you're adapting an old pair of shoes and you want to just get it looking crisp and accurate, but you can always just drape the fabric onto them. And once you've got your pattern drawn out, you can just cut that off of the shoe, and then you should have different blocks depending on what the shoe actually looks like. So I used the boot cover method to create my Starlight shoes. I remade them twice. One was for someone else and one was for my own cosplay. So these were the original boot covers that I made for my Starlight costume at university. And I originally made these out of a non-stretch suede, and I found that it was hard to actually get the shape of the shoe right when it wasn't just stretched around. But the way you would make these is by getting that initial pattern of the shoe and then extending the pattern up your leg. And you can take a full leg and shoe pattern in one go if you want to just cling film your entire leg, or you can just get the measurements from below the knee and your thigh and extend it up, then tailor it after doing a fitting, which is what I did for the first boot covers. And then all you need to do is sew up the side seams, leaving an opening for your leg at the top and for it to sit over the boot. I also wanted to cover the heel, so I made these parts separately, making sure to just overlock that suede because it did fray. And then I attached them to the bottom of the boot cover, so it should have looked something like this. However, if you're using a stretch fabric, you can make the boot covers a little differently, where you just sew around the sides and the underneath, leaving an opening for the heel, and then going back up the back side of the leg. This does create quite a nice shape, and I did find it to be more effective when creating a realistic boot cover. But if you are using a non-stretch fabric, you have to add elastic along certain areas of the underside of the shoe. So the areas that I added my elastic was along the base of the front of the shoe, just coming onto the arch, and then on the heel. And just so it was easier to take on and off, at the top of the arch of the foot, I added two little straps that just had a popper on them, so it made it easier to get on and off. But once you're done with adding that elastic, you do get left with some really nice boot covers. You can adapt the shoe in any other way that you want to make it like your cosplay. But that's how I made my Starlight shoes, and it's how you can save space and money on your cosplay shoes. Hopefully this video helps with how you can make your cosplay shoes at home. But if you're interested in any of my commission alteration works, I'll put a link in the description where you can contact me. And if you want to stick around for any more of my projects, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.